Well, welcome to the podcast. Nathan Newberry here, your host. I got Jerremy Newsome here on the podcast. You're going to hear his story. We're going to go into some tactics, so wait until the end. We're going to dive into it. But he's an author. He's a coach. He's a podcast, Ironman, guy. He has a family. He's right now going to be cruising around with his family in an RV, doing all of his businesses, being able to trek through the U.S. and around. We're going to hear some of those stories. Before we dive into, hearing his story, down below in the show notes, I want to make sure you got a gift of how to build an online influence. So if you're listening here and you're trying to figure out, how do I do ads? How do I figure out how to do sales and systems and use AI and ads? All of that is down in a workshop I wanted to give you guys so that you could really build a brand, because in this new generation, it's not about marketing where you're seeing things in the billboard or the bus benches. It's influencer marketing, and you need to build a brand for yourself that's going to last your lifetime. So I go over that down below. Jerremy, as we're diving in here to the podcast, I want to ask you, what is high performance? What does that look like? How do you define that? What have you seen with all the coaches and clients that you've served over the years? What does that look like?
High performance, Nathan, to me really means optimally walking in your purpose, knowing what it is, and being pulled by that purpose versus pushed by your pain.
Pulled by your purpose rather than pushed by your pain. Define that a second, because I think that's hard for people to wrap around their brain, because all they're thinking about is the pain, and they want to find that purpose.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of us as entrepreneurs, man, we're addicted to struggle. We're addicted to hard. We're addicted to grind. We're addicted to hustle. And that's not bad at all. In fact, it absolutely works. And I think many people probably a lot of times, I know a lot of your listeners, Nathan, they're entrepreneurs, they're business owners, and they're getting after it, right? They're doing the thing and they're building the business so that they can make more money for their family. But a lot of times they probably feel like the whipping horse or the donkey on the big mule, and they're just turning the stone all day. And they're just stressed because they know they're working so that they can make money, so they can do the thing. Yeah. And again, it's not a bad formula, and it absolutely works, but there are other ways. Here's a great example. A lot of people will say financial freedom is hard. A lot of people will say discipline is hard. A lot of people will say eating healthy and being in good shape is hard. My belief is that those things are actually really easy. Financial freedom is really easy. Having a great relationship with your wife and kids is really easy. Being in great shape is really easy. It's easier not to. And so when we are addicted to struggle, and as entrepreneurs, a lot of us are, we just constantly want to prove ourselves something, that we've made it, that we're worth it, that we deserve. And so we struggle, so that ultimately one day we can actually get this reward, and we're going to feel like we actually earned it. And again, that's not a wrong way to approach it. It's just a way that's going to generally at some point lead to burnout.
Yeah. Talk about how you serve people right now. You have a big presence online. You're a book, you wrote books, you're an author, you're a coach. Like, you got a lot going on, with your life. How do you serve though people? What do you do, and how does that look like?
I'm going to bring in two of the main focuses of how I serve. So number one, I'm serving on the board of Arrow Recovery. We are a nonprofit and organization where we work with military men and women, specifically almost always special forces. And we repurpose them once they've retired out of the military into humanitarian operators. And we do that to save lives and stop evil. So we are boots on the ground in the very, very first, generally we're the first NGO, non-government organization to show up when there's a hurricane, a fire, disaster. We were here in LA. We were here in Hawaii. We are there very, very quick because we have the best in the world operating this organization. And then number two, we also do a lot of anti-human trafficking missions where we actually go out and do our best to infiltrate, these horrific rings that are happening where generally children are being sold into sex slavery. We stop that from happening. And so I spend a lot of time, effort, energy, and money promoting that mission, helping that mission, and helping the men and women, mostly right now men, inside that organization to be the hands and feet of God. And then secondly, the individuals that I serve right now, I sold my company out of the third largest stock market education company on earth called Real Life Trading. We were focusing on helping individuals learn about their retirement, know how to make money, and learn how to create cash flow from the market so that they could live the life that they really feel like they're designed to live. And right now, I sold that company because I worked there for 10 years. I worked in and on the company for 10 years. I loved it. It was an amazing mission. I just learned that I'm a really, really good 0 to 1 guy, Nate. You probably know a lot of people like me. I'm just an idea generating weirdo where I just love 0 to 1, but I also implement all my ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So to tell you all that to say, I right now work with a lot of business owners, real estate professionals, celebrities, athletes, musicians who have done something for 20 years. They've amassed a lot of money and they're now kind of like, yeah, now what? And so I work with a lot of those people to give them purpose and to give them impact and to give them excitement. And cash flow helps with all of those things. And I am very, very good at understanding how to create cash flow rapidly and quickly and easily and successfully and with minimal downside risk.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
How did this all begin, though? Like you're talking about 0 to 1. How did you forge this? Like, how did you come up with this understanding of yourself that you're a little bit different? Like, I think the reason why I mention this is that high achievers don't know that they're high achievers. They're just wired that way and they just feel a little bit odd, that they're not understood for most of their life. And then they hit it big and they're like, okay, I'm just an anomaly, that's why. And then I accept it, that thing. When did you know that? And bring us back to some of the very beginning. Was this like selling cookies door to door? What was this?
So close, man. Super close. So to your point, I think every entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur if you have an origin story, if you were selling something between the ages of 5 and 10, maybe 5 and 15, right? Mm-hmm. That's how you know you're just designed to be a weirdo. And I fell into that category. So I saw a movie at the age of 6 that changed my life forever. It's my favorite movie to date. And the movie is called Forrest Gump. And in that movie, Nathan, he says,
at 6?
At 6, man. Yeah. This is 1994.
Wow.
1995. Movie comes out. Lieutenant Dan, right? He says that Lieutenant Dan invested into a fruit company and they no longer had to worry about money ever again. Well, I grew up dirt poor in the state of Georgia. I mean, in adjunct poverty. I lived in a Swiss Family Robinson single wide trailer treehouse. My dad and mom are/were hippies, and we lived in a very unique place. I had an incredible childhood. My childhood was awesome, but we were crazy poor and we were happy, but we were poor. And I knew he worried about money. And I knew that I had never in my life heard someone say, we don't have to worry about money. And then if you remember in the movie, dude, Forrest goes and builds what? A church, a hospital, a school, and then retires Bubba's mom out of the kitchen. So I was like, Dad, please, how do we do that? What is investing? What is this fruit company? Can you tell me anything about this? And he tells me about the stock market and tells me about Apple computers. And so I beg him to buy some shares. He's like, man, that's for rich people, right? We're not rich. We can't do that. So he eventually caves and says, listen, if you bring me some money, I'll match it dollar for dollar. So I did. I went out and I picked blackberries, put them in a Ziploc bag, sold them $1 a bag, door to door in the summer of 1995, made $1,500, brought that $1,500 to my dad. He had to borrow it from my uncle. We bought $3,000 worth of Apple stock at the absolute bottom in 1995.
Wow.
Yeah. And now I don't have to worry about money anymore. Now, the ironic part is I sold those shares in 2000. This was a $33 million mistake, Nathan. So I'm one of those people in life that have made that mistake. And I've learned from it. And again, at the age of, 12, it was 2000. We moved from Georgia to Florida. We sold the stock. My dad said it was the greatest investment you'll ever make. We turned 3,000 into 12,000. And I took that $12,000 and put it into bonds. And when I was 18, I was going to college. We sold those bonds, had $12,084. And it was a very, very fun learning lesson, probably 4 or 5 years after that. But I took tons of lumps, man. I've lost millions of dollars 3 separate times in 3 separate instances, all in my 20s. And it was all a gift, right? It was all because I really never slowed down and said, thanks, bro. right? I appreciate you. Like, thank you. It was all me. I'm doing it. And I had to learn the lesson, right? The lesson is, and you've heard it a million times, right? If you jump off the cliff, God will catch you. Unless God knows that you will survive hitting rock bottom. And I did, bro. I should be a geologist, man. I know what rock bottom looks like, feels like, tastes like. I know the address. And I lived in there for many, many years and just slowly started bouncing back and just took my bruises and learned from the school of hard knocks. And everything started happening instead of to me, things started happening for me when I was about 27. In 2017, I had a bunch of Bitcoin, and Bitcoin went up and I became a multimillionaire again for the fourth time. And that's why I was like, I'm not going to lose it. So since 2017, I've started going down to your point. We're talking before the show. I've been learning and coaching with every single coach on earth. If they're a high performer, they know a lot about spirituality or money or time or management or relationships. I mean, I've hired them all. I've been in every room. I've been in all the masterminds. I got all the bracelets. I did all the things because I wanted to learn what I didn't know and why I lost it those 3 times before. And now I know that. Now I have those answers, and I'll never repeat that process.
Wild, man.
Wild.
And
crazy.
When did you get married?
I got married February 14th, 2021. I met my wife re-met my wife really in 2020 during COVID. I flew in to Las Vegas. They shut the whole world down. And that's where we reconnected. We had met each other for the very first time, November 4th, 2012 at a Tony Robbins convention called UPW, Unleash the Power Within. Everyone knows Tony Robbins, obviously.
Yeah.
So met her there and we just stayed Facebook friends. She was way out of my league, dude. Way too hot. Still is. But I figured it out. I was like, oh, wait a minute. You want babies. So we learned to come together because she was looking for me. I was looking for her. I didn't believe in soulmates. I was like the whole alpha male, just be with the hottest woman in the world and, you'll figure it out. And she'll be 97% it. She'll never be 100% it. But I took the time before I met my wife to get extremely clear on what 100% is. And I was like, if there is such a thing as 100%, what is it? What does it look like? And I wrote all of it down. And that was 5 pages long. And at this point in my life, I can sit down and just check every single line item of my request for her.
So you built the success before you got married to her? Because I was wondering, going up and down, with those roller coasters of losing it all multiple times, like how that went, because that can get pretty scary and pretty gruesome. You hear some of that stuff quite a bit, and you've heard it coaching so many people with some of these challenges and things. What kind of creates the best relationship with wealth and with the opportunities that can give you?
What creates the best relationship and opportunities for wealth? I think it's knowing why you want to get rich and being okay with all the words around the word money, like being okay with it, really sitting in it and saying, me? Like me? Because if any of your listeners believe in God, I would ask this question: do you believe that God is infinite? And if anyone's listening and they think the answer yes, like, yeah, I believe that God is infinite, then you can never have too much. And you not asking for more is actually evidence that you don't have any faith that God is infinite. Because if you don't ask for more, then you don't really have the belief that God is infinite. Because if God's infinite, you can always have more and you'll never be subtracting from anything. That is a very interesting relationship paradigm when it comes to money and spirituality. And I think ultimately knowing why someone wants to do something and then actually putting in that time and energy. I work with, hundreds of people a year where they go, man, my whole goal in life is to make a couple $1 million. So I don't have to worry and stress about money. I don't have to panic about it. I don't have to sweat about it, and travel with my family and to spend more time with my family. But they're working 80 hours a week. And so then I say, okay, well, if you're working 80 hours a week, what really is your God? What really are you committing the most amount of time and priorities to? And if you have more faith, would you start stepping into more time freedom and more abundance and more liveliness with your family? And if you do that, would you get rewarded in a bigger way anyway. So again, it's just this really, really cool fear of my favorite thing on earth is working with people and putting them into massively uncomfortable situations.
Yeah, I mean, it's become an identity now. The hustle culture has been forging this idea of like what creates your identity is just relentless working, right? And I think let me preface this. There's a season for the grind and hustle that allows you to produce what you need to do. Like almost like someone's like, hey, I got to go hunt to provide for my family. I'm going to be away from my family during this time because I got to go get it. And then when I bring it back, then there's community and relationship. And so I feel like there's a season for the hunt, but it can't define you the rest of your life. And I think there's some elements of that I think people need to come back to and realize, hey, what are my priorities and how do I really kind of create the life that's the best for not only yourself, but everybody around you?
Let me ask you two easy questions. So number one, how many days in your life have you worked for 12 hours straight? Tons, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I know you in your background, you might actually have an answer to this, but like how many days in your life have you prayed for 12 hours straight?
Very good.
Now it might be a lesser of a number, but the reality is, to your point, when you said seasons, what I hear when people say that is seasons end. And many people get stuck in that I am always working, and their time off, the entrepreneurial time off, is days, not weeks, not months, right? Hours, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Sunday. That's when they're not working. And it's just this, or they're not thinking about working. They're not thinking about getting after it. It's just a really, really interesting paradigm because again, I love money. I love wealth. I think it's awesome. It's so cool. But if we think about it, Jesus was really getting after it for how long? 3 years, right? Our boy JC was really getting after it. Everything we know ultimately from the Bible about Jesus was a span of 3 years, 3 and some change. What was Jesus doing from 0 to 30? And the answer is it was getting ready, right? He was sharpening the saw. He was learning, studying from other people, right? Being around other people, learning and just growing and taking in knowledge. So it's, yes, there can definitely be seasons where we really, really, really get after it, but all seasons end. And then there has to be a time where you pour into your soul, because men right now, Nathan, they're becoming more computer than creature. And we forget that we are all little just creatures, and we got to get outside and we got to get dirty and we got to get sweaty and we got to get angry and we got to get mean. And we got to release all the negativity that's inside of us, right? The enemy is in me. It's nothing outside of you. It's like you're your own worst critic. You're your own worst enemy. So we got to exercise those demons, get them out of you, right? And to the point that you can actually really think from a clear and creative perspective that now you can start working less, because the book, as you know, Nathan, is called Think and Grow Rich, not Work Harder and Make More Money. And so if you can start learning how to get paid to think, then you finally start tapping into greatness.
I heard this rule, the rule of 300. It said 100% clarity, 100% belief, 100% all the time. Quote from Dan Martell.
I like Dan.
And there's an element of this that becomes, when you're in the hustle, there's this lying to yourself that you're gonna get through it. Talk about idea and thoughts with belief.
I'll say this. I'm going to bring it, believe it or not, actually into money, because I don't believe a lot of people know how much $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 is. Now, here's what I mean by that. I was talking to a guy 2 weeks ago named Jake. He's not a chiropractor, but he was previously a chiropractor, but he works at like a bio lab, like infusion place. And he was telling me about his dream. He's like, dude, right now I'm putting in like 60, 70 hours a week. And he was using the term, right? He's like, this is the season for it. And I'm like, all right, that's cool, man. I like seasons. Getting after it. He's like, I really just want to spend more time with my wife and kids and like go to baseball practice. I'm listening to him, right? And then he says at some point, he goes, someone did offer me to buy my practice from me, and I turned them down because I think it's worth a lot more. Now, that's a very fascinating piece, because when you ask about the belief and the thought, and including our boy Dan Martell, what do most people that have gobs of money, what did they do? They built something, they sold it, they took time off, and they took that money and then reinvested into the next thing, built that, sold that for more, and it became a multiple. Right? That's exactly what Dan did. That's exactly what Elon Musk did. That's exactly what a lot of them did. Warren Buffett, Carl Icahn, tons of them did. And so ultimately, for a lot of our listeners out there, if you're an entrepreneur and you have a thing and that thing is worth $500,000 to $700,000, $800,000, most of your listeners have never had more than $400,000 liquid chilling in their bank account, sitting there doing nothing and getting ready for that next big adventure. And for me, the way I think about $400,000 is in the stock market. If you put $400,000 into a brokerage account, you really have access to 1.6 million, because as you know, money grows on trees. And in the stock market, they will give you leverage essentially for free. If you use it, you have to pay an interest, but it's very, very nominal. And so for me, $400,000 is access to 1.6 million. And with 1.6 million, I can make 1% a day, very easy off that amount of money. Well, let's just say 1% a week. And 1% of 1.6 million is 16,000. $16,000 a week is over $50,000 a month. Now, again, to me, it's all wealth. Back to earlier, I said financial freedom is very easy. Financial freedom is second grade math repeated consistently. That's what financial freedom is. That's what wealth is. And so to your point, if you have an idea and a belief about something, you really need to know the numbers behind it, because the universe loves people that have extreme clarity. And to your point, if you have 100% clarity and you know exactly what the idea is, you need to know what you're believing in and get really, really defined on that belief numerically, because from that point on, you can have such incredible catapults that you can really start doing the leapfrog effect, where you can turn 500 into 2, 2 into 7, and then 7 into 25.
So where did you learn these principles and habits around leverage? Because I think this isn't taught really much anywhere, of trying to figure out how to capitalize and leverage on what these things are. Because this is fascinating. I want to hear more.
Thank you, man. My answers to that is bad experiences. That's how. Tell me how I know about leverage. What story of losses do you need, buddy? It was, man. It's just understanding the stock market. So that's why I wrote the book, Money Grows on Trees, because I'm not even here to this is wild, man. Listen to this for a second. Just talking about leverage. Did you know there are banks out there? Now, these aren't actual banks, but let's just say Wall Street banks. I can put in $400,000 and get access to $20 million of buying power. 20 million. They'll give me 20 to 1 leverage. And when I trade with $20 million, I'm only risking my 400,000. I can't even lose more than the amount of money that I'm putting in. And they'll give you a 70-30 split. 70% to you, 30% to them, because you're just using their money. So if you know the math of risk, you can risk only $400,000 and access $20 million a day. And if you're getting 1% on 20 million, that's $200,000 a day. It's crazy what's available out there, man. Because once you understand the math of, to your point, leverage, people do leverage all the time with real estate. Mm-hmm. They just don't know it. They are always, everyone's in leverage to some degree. Credit, that's what credit is. Credit is leverage. Debit cards are leverage, right? All these credits and debits and the money that's in your bank account, that's being leveraged by the banks. And there's so much opportunity. So for me, it's just about figuring out how to get the most liquid capital possible. Because if I can get liquid capital, and again, my whole world has been the stock market forever, I then know that I'd rather buy shares than dollars, because shares are exponential. And if I have a bunch of shares of a company, I know that it's going to grow over time, because again, it's a math formula, right? Amazon, Walmart, Google, Apple, Tesla, all companies that are going to go up over time, guaranteed. Oh God, Jeremy just said guaranteed. Yeah, man, guaranteed, right? Apple makes $90 million of net profit an hour, Nathan. Like that stock's going to go higher. There you go. Have fun. So now if I know to buy as many shares as possible, you might know this, but if I own shares of a company, I can rent those shares out and I can get paid an income weekly to sell my stock higher than I bought it for. Crazy. So the instruments that exist out there are outstanding. And that's just been my whole world. My whole design has been to understand these instruments and to teach other people for the last 20 years.
How can someone even learn some of this, Jeremy? I mean, many times people are in their world, they're in their lane, they're entrepreneurs, businesses, business owners, they're in their lane, they're just obsessed and they're spending so much time in working in the business, not necessarily even having time to know learning how to work on the business, let alone knowing how to use this leverage to learn it and then implement and then start seeing the rewards on that.
Dude, shout outs to all of your listeners because you guys picked one of the best podcasts out there on earth, right? Nathan is creating and curating an incredible list of people that want to pour into every single listener. So if you're listening, make sure you hit all the good reviews, give our boy Nathan some love. But first and foremost, my man, I'll say this. The way people learn is just get information from people that they trust and like. And so I'll make the stock market the easiest thing in the world. Every single listener of yours, they probably have a business. And their businesses are doing good, right? I've had businesses that did good. You had businesses that did good, but whatever. They did, let's say $10 million, right? Not even to the 10 to 20 top line, right? Annually. Okay, cool. So your business is doing $10 million a year top line revenue. You got payroll and all the things. And at the end of the year, what's your really take home pay? $350. Okay, got it. To be real with everyone out there. That's a good business. You're killing it, bro. You're doing 8 figures, right? You're getting invited to speak on stages. Oh, this guy's doing 8 figures. Amazing. Okay. Your take home pay is 6 figures though, but whatever. You're doing 8. Now, then I can take all of the money that I make and I can put it into businesses like Apple. And I can buy Apple's profit. I can buy Apple's marketing. I can buy Apple's employees. I can buy their sales. I can buy their sales funnels. I can buy their customers. I can buy access to everything. I can literally share in the profit of Apple. And Apple's doing $90 million in net profit an hour. I'm good at business, Nathan. I'm not that good. I'm not Google good. Google does $79 billion of revenue a quarter. I'm really good at business. I'm not that good. So Walmart's doing $187 billion of revenue, Nathan, a quarter. Oh, they're almost doing $1 trillion a year in revenue. Like that is unimaginable. And I can just buy Walmart. So I can take all my extra money and just buy Walmart, and I can just work to simply make more money to just buy Walmart stock. And Walmart stock's up 68% this year. 68%. It's unbelievable. So to the point, what if we have been taught our whole lives to build businesses to just then make enough money to then go buy other bigger, better businesses that make more money faster? And that way you can make more money easier. And then when you can make more money easier, guess what you can do? Start living in your purpose faster.
Talk about the purpose side of things, because I want people to see, hey, there's opportunity. The opportunities, you got to learn how the markets work. You can't hide from it. You got to leverage it. You got to get into it. But once you start building some more of that wealth, what are some of the processes you look at to really kind of help you identify more of a purpose? Because that's behind everything. On your deathbed, you're not going to be saying, I wish I had necessarily more money. It's me, how do I have more time? But time for what? How do you define some of that purpose?
It takes intentional work, honestly. And I will give you all the exercise that has not only changed my life, but changed the life of many other people, but it was given to me by my business partner, Brittany Turner. And Brittany Turner taught me to write my eulogy. So pretend you're dead and your wife or your brother or your best friend or whoever is reading your eulogy to the crowd of people that came to see you at your funeral. What are they saying? What did you do? And when you start from that intention of why did God put me on this earth? And again, I'm not talking like you're doing this every day, but what if you spend an hour a day for a week? Or if you want to get crazy intentional, spend 5 hours a day for 3 days and sit in that energy of, why am I here? Why do I exist? What do I care about? Who do I care about? You might come up with, I would love to save all the homeless people so that they have a home. They don't have to be freezing outside and die in the snow. Or I would love to save all of the horses that are malnourished and, misrepresented and mistreated in all the stables across America. Or I would love to save all the children from sex slavery. Right. And you start going down this list of like, what is actually important to you? You got one chance on earth. Nathan, me and you are toast in 100 years, big guy. We're dead. It's game over. So in 100 years from now, what are we actually going to try to do between now and 100 years? What impact are we actually going to have? And with Forrest Gump, right? He built a church, a school, he built a hospital, and he retired Bubba's mom out of the kitchen and gave her half of the money that they made from investing into Apple. I mean, that's a legacy. Now there's a movie about him. Now, obviously he's a fictional character, but the point I'm trying to bring up is it's like, that's impact. And I just think that most people do not want to die nameless. I think most of the people that are listening to this show right now, I think most of these people, myself and yourself included, want to have a legacy. We want to put our name on this earth. We want people to know that we left it better than we found it. And for me personally, knowing a purpose is what allows you to walk with a higher vibration, with a more unique frequency and a more light spirit, so that you can truly be guided, be given, and be pushed and be pulled and just be motivated to really get up when things do get hard. It's a lot easier to get through
that. I think a purpose too of like you're talking about, when you find something that's bigger than you, that gives you a drive, that you're waking up not feeling like you're going to a job, but something that you're so passionate about that every day it's like, I'm going to run through a brick wall. And when those tough times come, like you're talking about, you're going to be able to breeze through it because you're like, I'm such on a mission. I'm such and I think that's exciting more than even the business ventures. When you're thinking about, like what you're doing, Jeremy, with like helping, kids get out of sex slavery, right? That's like a passion outside of like, hey, I got to make some money on my business. It's a noble effort for a job and a noble effort to build a business, but it's like, it exhilarates you, it lights you up when you start finding your purpose that lights you up. And then you're able to just, you feel alignment. There's significance and fulfillment with that. And let me throw this little nuance in. Every single of those things that you find with purpose is in serving others.
Yeah.
It's Amen. And then the byproduct is it helps you build a better stage, or it helps you be able to, have more finances when you think about building that with others. And I think you touch on this too, Jeremy, of what you've seen and what you've coached on. But I think of all the people that you think in the world that have made the biggest impact on this planet, Jesus, right? Other, characters that we think of, Gandhi and Mother Teresa, they had nothing left at the end of that, right? Physically and materialized things that most of us kind of pursue in things, but they left a big marker. And you can even, go graduate. Maybe it's our parents, maybe it's your dad or your mom that you're like, hey, I want to give everything for. And it's because they gave of themselves. And I think there's the sacrifice. There's the when you're finding your alignment with your purpose, it always comes down to the giving of others.
I believe that to be very true, man. I was told by one of my mentors, Anil Gupta, he says that the secret to living is giving. And that is right. That is the secret, because, and this is one of those faith things, right? This is biblical.
Yeah.
The more you give, the more you are given, or the more you receive. And it takes an act of giving, and not giving necessarily because you're going to get more back of something, but you're going to get more back, right? You don't necessarily give in service so that you're going to get $100,000 back, although you might, which is awesome. But if you're just giving, it's a law, it's a spiritual law that if you give something, you will receive something more than what you just gave, because God is infinite. And that's all. And when you start studying infinites, and we actually learn how big infinite is, that you can take any number and subtract it from infinite, and infinite is still infinite. It just allows you to sit in and go, wow, God is great. There's so much opportunity here. There's so much I can have. There's so much others can have, and I'm ready for them to have it.
Mm-hmm. What are some action items that people need to make in your perspective? If you were like, someone came to you and said, hey, I want to learn how to grow wealth. Where would be the first thing that you would say, hey, study, learn this? What are some action items people need to take away from listening to this?
You know what's wild? I'm actually going to make sure to say this, but like, I would love everyone here to understand how to invest into assets. I think most people get it conceptually, buy real estate, whatever. But when they understand that you can take things from the metaphysical and turn it into the physical, meaning take some of the money that you make from your paycheck or from your job or from your business and open up a Robinhood account, which is free and easy, very free, very easy, and then use income that you receive from life to then go buy stocks. Just go buy one stock that you know, that you like, that you use, that you understand. I'll give you a list of 5. You can choose from those. Netflix, Meta, Costco, Apple, Walmart. All companies that every single person listening understands, knows, and uses. Okay, cool. Take some money, buy one of those on repeat. And what you're going to do is you will see that number grow. And you'll see it grow over time without your input. So you're putting money in every single week or every single 2 weeks or every single 3 weeks or every single month. And you're going to see that number over time grow. And it's going to grow without you putting any work. And what's going to do is that's going to create a paradigm shift. And it's going to create a paradigm shift to start learning more about the world that exists for people to think and grow rich. Because I believe that people should get paid to play. Where instead of spending time to make money, spend energy to create money. I no longer even make money. I attract it, magnetize it. It's a different word, right? Change your words, you change your entire world. And so for every single person listening, that's really a huge, huge piece of advice. Change your words, download a very free application on your phone called Robinhood, and go buy one of those 5 stocks that I mentioned on a weekly basis or a bi-weekly basis. And if you just start from that perspective, you will start to begin to understand how easily accessible incredible wealth is to every single person listening.
I love that, man. How can people follow you and connect with you more?
I have a great social media team. I would love for every single person listening, just connect with me just like you have with Nathan. Nathan has a remarkable Instagram following. Feel free to message me on Instagram. My team will sort the spam requests from the actual people. So just shoot me a message and let me know how I can pour into you. Let me know what additional information you can. If anyone likes books, I have a book called Money Grows on Trees. And the next book that I'm writing, the title is kind of still in progress, but it's going to be called very close to Be Wealthy Like Jesus. And it's a spiritual and scriptural expose on how rich Jesus was. And it's just this really remarkable healing journey for people's money and for people's wealth. So very excited for that to come out. But yeah, man, honestly, just message me on Instagram and I'll be happy to connect with anyone who reaches out.
Thanks so much for being on. Make sure to go follow Jerremy wherever you consume social media. I think that's going to be really awesome for you to learn about this wealth building from Jerremy. So go do that. I'll put the links down below so you can go reach out to him and find him. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for other episodes coming up. If you need to connect with that show notes training that I told you about how to build an online influence, don't forget to grab that before you go. And we will see you on the next episode.